Flight boss, bitch. For sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Terry Smooth. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And this video right here, this is not going to be too long. I just want to explain something to all my Christians and Protestants out there and things for that nature. A lot of you guys, literature and art come from the Septuagint, and the Septuagint is the Greek interpretation of the Hebrew text, which the Hebrew text is a group of individuals that's trying to make a language out of science and sigils that they have obtained from Kemet and things of that nature. And so they're trying to understand the architecture of how things are built. So we're developing mentalities and ideas on how to live our lives based upon the stars and the astrological traveling of these things, if you want to call it astronomy. So once you start to understand the concept and understand symbolism and what we actually trying to convey, right? When you start to talk about esoteric Christianity, right? Here's the thing of that nature, right? This is not actually talking about individuals. This is talking about how we come into flesh. So once you understand the cross, you're understanding this is something going from AM to PM, something going from night to day, whatever that you want to call it, whether you're looking at the star or you're looking at you as an individual and you're calling it alpha or in some way, shape, or form going into a bet, which we got alphabet from that. Right? Now, here's the thing. Once we start to talk about something going from AM to PM, this lets you know that this deals with transformation. So this is a light ray that deals with transformation or rebirth. So that could be harmful or that could be harmonious. So we know that aspects that we could point to that in this lifetime is dealing with actually seeing somebody dying or actually having sex. So for the most part, this is going towards understanding how light move and how it influence our lower animalistic natures that kind of rowdy us up and get aroused based upon our sexual organs. So for the most part, once you start to actually understand what you're actually looking at, and we're conflating these things with the actual stars and things of that nature, then you'll start to understand esoteric Christianity is actually a form of understanding the way influences move. And then once we get exoteric, EXO. So let's separate this, because religious people may not understand that Masons created the Septuagint to force you to worship Phallic religion. You know what I'm saying? Where you worship the sexual organs. But you may not understand this is what you're actually doing due to the fact of all the wisdom it have in there on how to get lost into your lower desires in some way, shape, or form. So you kind of cling onto these things as more important than the actual authorization and the anthropomorphizing stories of these characteristics, traits that's behind these things that they're trying to anthropomorphize in a literature or art way in order for you to understand what the writer is trying to convey to you. So for the most part, once you start to understand getting lost into a desires or into the flesh, this is where Protestants or Christians may not understand where it comes into exoteric and exoteric. Esoteric, that's ESO. This is something that we all have ability to tap into, whether you're going internally and you're accessing the realm of reality or this world that we all have access to in order for you to be aware on your own without no fear being there to make you be aware of something. Then we have exoteric, EXO, common knowledge. Now here's the problem with that, because we can have a group of individuals that maintain some esoteric knowledge that we all got access to, and then have their interpretation behind it. And once they have their interpretation, depending on what group and power and position that these individuals are, their interpretation can become more important than your interpretation. And here's the thing. Here's where you get a group of individuals saying that you have to come through them in order to receive the right terminology or the right understanding about a book or a word or a literature or a language. You see what I'm saying? Charlatan energy, without unknowingly, without knowing that that's what you're doing. And you're exalting yourself without knowing that's what you're doing. But this is what the Masons did to y'all, without understanding that they created the Septuagint based upon aligning magic numbers and magic squares based upon the monad and the magic circle and the magic mirror. But for the most part, like I said, once we start to talk about the circumstance of the motherfucking energy that was being utilized, right, in order to make you think that something you don't got access to and something you can't go internal, so it externalize things. So that's what these group of individuals do. They take some esoteric energy, create an interpretation, and then it becomes exoteric, EXO, common knowledge based upon their power, their channeling, their internets, and their books and their Shakespeare type things and all kind of different extracurricular things, right? So here's where exoteric can become very negative, because we can have a group of individuals taking some esoteric energy that we all got access to develop wisdom, and then be utilizing it for their own selfish purposes and interpretations as far as what they want people to believe is common knowledge about these things. So you Christians may not understand the difference between esoteric Christianity and exoteric Christianity, and your form of being lost with 2,000-year-old debates and trying to utilize science and agnosticism and secularism and try to combine all these things with your arguments and coming up with apologetics and things of that nature. You actually are an example of a 20th century demon, because when you want to say demons or fallen angels brought astrology or brought certain extracurricular things, you need to know, you being a human, you brought apologetics, you brought being a theologian. That's being a demon on the highest level, because at the end of the day, you can't go nowhere else but to the root cause of anthropomorphizing the concept of all possibilities. And the Masons even made y'all think that way. So you need to keep that in mind also. So you're kind of giving a name and title to all possibilities and limiting all possibilities and giving it your human traits on top of that. So for the most part, you're always going to lead to a circumstance or situation just saying, I don't know, and coming up with a better excuse to why you don't know that you can smile about not knowing. But here's the thing. You need to understand, at the end of the day, it's all about phallic religion. And you worship phallic religion based upon you being Greeked out in terminology of grammatics, Latin, mixed into French to come up with this bastard language, English. And then for the most part, you think that the value that they're putting behind these words that they created from the language is actually the true word of some type of objective thing. And this is what you need to understand also. The only objectivity you ever going to run into is everybody has subjectivity. And that's the only objective statement you will ever be able to make that's actually true. So get out of y'all motherfucking 2,000-year-old arguments. Flight boss, bitch, and Archangel Uriel. Love y'all.